Good morning, guys. Happy Sunday, and welcome back to Basic Fundamentals F-15C. We're getting down to the wire, guys. Only one or two courses remaining. We'll see how much we get in today. The goal is to get through the AIM-7 Sparrow, the AIM-9 Sidewinder, and the M61 Vulcan cannon. Okay, so we got a lot to cover, so we're going to get right after it. Just real quick beforehand, I do want to correct something that I said in the previous tutorial when I said that the AMRAAM was the only missile that could use flood mode. That was an incomplete statement, and I regretted saying that when I was watching the recording. The correct response to that is the only one that can be used in a fire and forget situation. Okay, so, and we'll see what that looks like here in a minute, but I do apologize for anybody who might have caught that. Alright, so jumping right into it, the AIM-7 Sparrow is a semi-active radar-guided missile, meaning that the launching aircraft must maintain radar lock of the target until the missile has either missed or struck the target. Okay, if you break radar contact or lose radar contact at any point while the missile is in flight, it will go dead and become what we call a dumb missile. Okay, it will actually go ballistic. By design, it's supposed to basically climb right up, straight up as high as it can go. Okay, and if it does that, that's pretty much when you know that, well, that shot's ruined. Okay, why am I way down? Oh, let me get these stupid tanks off us. There we go. So, like I said, getting right into it, let's go ahead and go over a couple things right off the bat. The first thing is, just like before, you always want to be in BVR first. So what we're going to do, actually, you know what, back that up. Let's go ahead and start our aircraft first. Let's get a bandit out there. Let's see if we can track him down. So, with the radar and the AIM-7, the first thing that I want you guys to be aware of is TWS does not work with it. Okay, meaning that you cannot select multiple targets. Okay, if you want to use the AIM-7 to launch on a target, you must be in single target track. Otherwise, here's what's going to happen. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go put us in TWS. Okay, we can see that we're getting our telemetry information. I'm going to then, now it's time to assign a missile. So I'm going to go and select my AIM-7 Sparrow. And I'm going to go into Beyond Visual Range mode, hit number 2 on our keyboard. Now look what happened. Okay, the radar automatically changed the signal back to single target track to RWS scan. But notice that the scan range is still limited to the 30 degrees. Even if we hit right Alt and India again, okay, we'll go back into TWS, but now we've lost our BVR indications up on the HUD. Okay, we've lost our missile telemetry information. And it will still let you shoot. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to lock the target. Okay, we can see that we've got it even if we turn towards. Okay, so I'm going to turn towards our aircraft here. Now watch what happens when I let go of the missile. Let me get out of this stupid autopilot. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to Fox 1. There goes our missile. And notice that it is not tracking. It's just going to keep on going. Alright. So, something to be aware of right off the bat. You cannot fire the missile while in TWS. Okay, and you have to go into BVR mode. So there's number 2. And what you can do, notice that our radar isn't going back to where it wants to be. So what we can do is go into like flood mode, okay, and then go back into BVR, and now we get our full radar scan back. Okay. So we'll reacquire the target. Go ahead and point our radar down a little bit. There he is. We're going to lock him up. Okay, now let's talk about a few things that we've got here. And we've seen a lot of this before, but we'll just go over it for real quick. Get my cursor up here. There we go. Alright, so just like before, we still have the range of 9.5 nautical miles. We see that he's on a 2-degree right aspect. Okay, that's what that is. So we're coming up on his right side. He's coming on a right turn. The M will always indicate the M7 Sparrow has been selected. The 3 is the number of missiles we still have on board, and the M again is the model. Okay, so we have the AIM-7, we have 3 of the AIM-7 mics on board. And then just like before, we still have the 0.726 Mach 1G out of 9G capable. We still have the missile intercept timer of approximately 31 seconds if we were to launch the missile now. We have our radar scale up here. We still have our RPI lines and RTR. The RTR is actually the line that shows here. We don't really get an RPI line when we're in this tight, but you do see it right here. So the problem is it's really close, okay? The AIM-7 Sparrow does not have the range that the AMRAAM does, okay? It's nowhere close. Let's just call it what it is, okay? I'm just going to tell you right now, it doesn't. It does not perform in DCS World the way the AMRAAM does, okay? But down here, okay, we still get the same information that we get in single target track. 2 degrees right aspect, 223 bearing, 356 knots, 11,600 feet. Single target track, MiG-29, 31 second intercept time. Excuse me, that was target heading. This is target bearing of 204 degrees at 9 miles. Okay, we still get our steering dot. We still have our angle offline that we talked about in the previous course, right? So this is the angle that he's off from our approach. Okay, we still need to maneuver our steering dot into the ASE circle, and we still want to wait for the RTR line to initiate our shot. All right, so let's go ahead and see what that all looks like in action. So coming into it, first thing we're going to do is steer our aircraft with our steering dots on point. Okay, notice our closure rate is increasing. Target's currently flying away from us. We're approaching RTR. Notice our firing cue lights have not come on yet. And just like with the AMRAAM, notice the ASE circle is getting larger as we're getting closer. Okay, now we're on a tail aspect on the bottom right of the HUD. You can see we switched, huh? So we're directly behind him. Okay, we're approaching RTR. There's the shoot cue and Fox 1. Goes our missile, maintaining radar contact the entire time. You cannot turn and run. We want to keep him inside that ASE circle. Pull our speed back a little bit here. And that missile has gone dead. So remember what I was saying, it does not have anywhere near the range. So we're going to try again here, coming in at about 3 miles. Oh, never mind, that was an impact. It did come down and get it. Alright, I thought that was dead. I should look down further. Perfect. I was getting a little worried there. That was actually kind of upsetting initially. Alright, so good kill, splash 1. You guys saw how that worked. That was a relief. I was literally getting annoyed there. Okay, so what happened there is since we maintained radar contact, the missile climbed up to an altitude above the target where it could dive down on top of it. Okay, so perfect execution with the Sparrow. Now, if we were to come through that again, and I'll reset real quick so I can show you guys what that looks like. Alright guys, so we've got a new target up here. Gone ahead and located it. We're going to go ahead and lock it up just like before. In here. Alright, so we've got our firing solution. We're inside RTR. We're going to give it a couple more seconds here. Range to target now 7 miles, 7.5 miles. Alright, we'll go ahead and Fox 1. Missile away, and I'm going to brake. Alright, and we've lost radar contact. Notice when the ASE circle changed, that's an indication that you lost radar contact. Now watch the missile. And you can see it steering away already. Okay, it's gone completely dead. Okay, even though he was seconds away from the bird. Okay, which brings us a good time to go ahead and check out vertical scan mode. Okay, so we've acquired the target. Steering dot inside. Target designator inside. Fox 1. Okay, so same thing as the AIM. Oh, we lost contact. Okay, so he broke radar contact. So now we have to reacquire. Okay, so we reacquired. Okay, we're going to Fox 1 again. Okay, that first missile we just fired is dead. So anytime you see that, you have no choice but to re-engage. And we're going to hold on to him. And him maneuvering, him getting too close to the water, there's all kinds of things that could have caused the radar contact to break, even though he was right in front of us. Radar cross signature could have changed based on his maneuvering, but splash one! There he goes, and he's down. Jester's dead. Okay, so that was a really good scenario. That was I wasn't expecting that to happen, which was nice. Because that's one of those things you can't typically simulate other than doing what I did the first time, which is just turning the aircraft. So I want you guys to be aware of what happened there. Just to reiterate one more time, I know I already explained it once, but just to retouch up on it. So even though we had him, even though he was locked up, we're inside 7 nautical miles, the radar, for whatever reason, lost contact. Okay, and again, I can't stress enough, there are a bunch of different things that could have happened there. If he had gotten low enough to the water, what would have happened is the radar then would lose the ability to distinguish between the aircraft and the water below. It's called terrain masking. Especially if his bank angle had changed to a point where he was more like a edge side to us, where we can only see the edge silhouette of his aircraft. That makes the radar cross signature. Okay, so basically the way to think about that is, going back to our flashlight, right? You take a piece of paper and you hold it up straight like you normally would, like you're going to write on it. You put your flashlight on it, you can see all of it, right? But then you take that same piece of paper, assume that it's real rigid, right? It's not going to flop around, and you turn it on its side, then flash your flashlight on it, right? It becomes much, much harder to tell that it's a piece of paper. Okay, and that's essentially what happened there with the radar. It was lock onto him, but he might have maneuvered in just a way where the cross signature became too small, or small enough, I should say, to the point where the radar could no longer identify it as an aircraft, so it broke the contact. The second that it broke the contact, even though we reacquired, wow, that's a mouthful, a couple seconds later, that first missile is dead. We had no choice but to launch another one. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Don't wait for the missile to reacquire. If for any reason you fire a missile, the Sparrow specifically, and you lose radar contact and you get it back, don't wait for that missile to reacquire. It's not going to happen. Just let a new one go and go for your kill. All right. So last but not least, let's go ahead and jump on board with the flood mode. So I'm going to go ahead and reset us, get us a couple bandits in the air, and or at least a bandit in the air, and see what happens. All right, guys. Be right back. All right, guys. So we reacquired a new target here. Now what we're going to do is, just like before, we're going to go ahead and hit 6 on our keyboard. Okay. And we're going to switch to our Sparrow. There we go. There's the flood mode for the Sparrow. Alright, so we're going to go back into flood mode. Make sure we select the AIM-7. Okay, so just like before, there's the ASE circle for the Sparrow. Now we're going to bring it into the locking circle, and then we get all the same data we did in BVR, right? But we're just going to let that bird go. Fox 1. Maintaining radar contact. We're going to slow us down a bit. Watching that radar contact. Also notice, real quick, something that I forgot to point out. I know I typed it up in the text, but notice the triangle underneath the target designator queue. Okay, this representation tells you the same thing this does, that your target has come within RTR and you have a clear firing solution. Okay. So now we're just sort of monitoring, waiting for the splash, and there it is, target destroyed. Okay, and then now we're free to disengage and go after somebody else. And by the way, if you just press your enter key, you will clear your current selected target. Okay? Alright, so that pretty much sums up the AIM-7. Like I said, a lot of the performance is very similar to the AMRAAM. The only real big difference is, first off, you don't have anywhere near the range. So keep in mind about an effective range of between 5 and 9 miles. Anything inside of that, and you may have difficulties. 5 miles, you're pushing the boundaries of too close, where the target may be able to evade. And I say pushing it, doesn't mean it can't happen below that, but you're pushing it. And then outside of 9 miles, it's very likely the target's either going to defend or turn and extend and just outrun the missile. Okay. definitely you don't want to go into the ranges such as like 15, 20 nautical miles as we normally would with the AMRAAM. There are certain scenarios in which that would work. You know, if you have one hell of a altitude gain on him, he's coming head on at you, he doesn't know you're there yet, you know, he's not paying attention, whatever. There are cases in which you could employ it, you know, 13 to 15 nautical miles, but you know, again, your probability of impact severely degrades after you exceed about 10 miles. Okay? So, that's going to pretty much cover that, in which case we will move on to the AIM-9 Sidewinder. Alright guys, we are back and ready to start looking at the AIM-9M Sidewinder. Okay, the Sidewinder is I'm going to rephrase that. The AIM-9M Sidewinder, the mic version, is a infrared all aspect short range air-to-air missile. Okay, the all aspect means it can be fired no matter how you're facing the aircraft. You don't have to be directly behind him. You don't have to come up from above him, etc. Short range, obviously self-explanatory. You want to be within about 2 to 4 miles to effectively use the AIM-9 mic. Anything outside of that and you'll find yourself with pushing the boundaries of its capabilities. Okay, all this information, I have to stress, is specific to the mic, as the AIM-9X that is soon to be completed and is already available for the Hornet has significantly more features to it. Okay, much better missile. But for today's course, let's go ahead and get behind one of these guys. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into our what we identify as flood mode, in this case longitudinal axis mode, or longitudinal aiming mode. Okay, now notice right away, if we pause for a second, we get our identifier just like we got with the other missiles. This is an S, so we have the Sierra 4 mic. Okay, so the Sierra indicates the AIM-9 always. The 4, quantity of missiles on board, and mic is the version. Okay, and then the same information that we've always seen before. Okay, hour Mach, G-load, nav information. Okay, now up the top what we have is the AIM-9 in a cage scenario, meaning basically this is a bore sight. Okay, now what's going to happen, what we have here is we have the seeker's field of view and we have what the seeker's currently looking at. Now with bore sight, this goes directly off the nose of the aircraft is how this is going to work. Anytime we put a target inside of the bore sight camera or the bore sight field of view, the target will lock. If the target leaves that, we will lose the lock. Okay, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here with this first bird. So we're going to come in. Notice the sound that you're hearing, that is the sound of the seeker tracking. Okay, it's looking for something. We haven't actually locked on, and there's our lock-on sound. We notice that the fire cue lights come on board. Okay, so this is a cue to shoot. So we're going to go ahead and let loose. So Fox 2. And we can also just immediately let go of the missile right after that. So we fired the missile and turned away. It is the nice thing about the AIM-9M and the AIM-9 in general is because it's a heat-seeking missile, it's a truly fire and forget missile. As soon as you let it go, you can turn and run. The other nice advantage to using the missile in the current mode, because notice the radar isn't on. Since we are not using the radar, the enemy aircraft gets no alert that the missile has been fired. Alright, so that's cage mode. Next thing we're going to do is go down to 6 again. And we're going to see cage mode bore sight with the radar on. Okay, so now we're going to come up, just like we did before, pull it in, and now look at all the information we get. So with the radar on, we get our angle off indicator, excuse me. We got our steering dot there. We get our target designating cue. We get the AIM-9 focus point, right? Remember the little circles of what the AIM-9 is actually looking at. Okay, we get the aspect indicator. We have a tail aspect, the missile intercept timer. Okay, just like we saw before, still quantity of the missile. Down here we get our RTR line, just like we saw before. Same thing with up on the HUD. There's our RTR right there. Okay, so remember, range for turn and run. So even if you maneuvers, we're still going to get them. Okay, we've got all of our closing information, identifier, all that information. Now, the only problem with this is that now this aircraft has been alerted that he's been locked. Now, he's not going to get identification that he's been fired upon, but he does know that he's been locked up. His RWR is now alerting him that there's someone directly behind him who's locking him. So we're going to unpause. Fox 2. There goes the missile, and we can drop the lock. We just hit our enter key, the lock is dropped, boom, splash 1. Okay, so that's flood mode, and in both active radar and no radar assistance. Now let's go ahead and go into vertical scan. Now with a vertical scan, again, you need to have the radar on. But so we're going to hit 3 on our keyboard, and look, we already picked him up. Remember I told you, this is a nice example of this, even though he's outside of our HUD bounds, remember I told you, so what it is, this solid line going straight up 70 degrees from the horizon line up to the top of the cockpit. So he fell within that line. Okay, so it's from -2 degrees, 70 degrees up is the radar's vertical scan range point, our vertical flight line. Okay, so we've got a lock, we've got missile tone, everything sounds good. You guys can hear the harmonic now, the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. That's the radar indicating the seeker has a lock. Fox 2, missile away. We can pull off, lose the lock, and splash 1 again. Okay, let's see here. So that's vertical scan mode, that's the cage mode. I think we've covered everything for the AIM-9M. It's a pretty simple missile to use. It really is. Just remember the advantages between the two. I mean, and all we have to do here is shut our radar off. The radar is no longer on, and we're back into bore sight. Okay. So all we have to do, this aircraft has, assuming that he's been all here all by himself all day, he has no idea his buddies are dead. We come up behind him. We've locked him. He has no idea we're here. Fox 2. Still no indication. Has absolutely no idea we're here for him. And splash. Although it looks like he's going to walk away from that one. Look at that lucky little bastard. Well, it just so turns out that our next set is the M61 Vulcan. So what we're going to do is press Charlie on our keyboard. Now again, this is unassisted. So with the radar off. And what we're going to do is we're just going to bring our target into our gun sight. Now it's much more inaccurate doing it this way, but notice where the spray is going. We're going behind him, so we have to sort of guesstimate. We're going to pull up a little bit. Oh, there we go. Now we're dead on. Okay. So, as you saw, that was pretty difficult. The thing about using the gun unassisted is if you get any kind of range on them, or you guys are in the middle of a turn, it starts getting more and more difficult to use the gun. And you only have 946 rounds, and look at that, we've already burned through about 100 rounds just in those little bursts. Okay. So now let's see the gun in radar assisted mode, which is significantly better and much more fun to use. So we've activated some aircraft. Let's see where they're at. Looks like they're off to our right. Let's go see if we can't track them down. Alright, so we saw how much of a pain in the ass the gun is to use. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, caught the drift right away when you don't have radar guidance. Unless you're really on close and you have a really good idea of what you're doing, I mean, you guys can finagle it. You just have to lead the target, just like if you're playing a sniper game or something like that. You have to lead. Don't shoot where the target is. You got to shoot where the target's going to be when the bullets reach there. But what we're going to do here is radar assisted. So notice our radar, once again, limited back to 10 nautical miles. We're in the gun mode. Okay, we've hit Charlie on our keyboard, went back into guns, and just like with vertical scan and flood mode, the radar is limited to 10 nautical miles. And the gun's effective range is 1-2 miles pushing it. Okay, outside of that, your odds of hitting something become significantly less. So we're going to come in, we're going to roll in on these guys. What the hell's up with the viewing angle? It's sort of annoying. Alright, so what's happened here? Notice that before we even reached it, the target has been acquired. Okay, that's the vertical scan mode talking again. Okay, so it's sending out wide signal to try to acquire a target. So we picked him up. Now we get our nice little firing box. Now we don't get any kind of steer line, and he's just outside the limitations of the gun. That's why we keep losing the contact there. Now notice what happens as we get closer. What you're looking for is an aim line or guide line. I'll show you what we do with that here in a second. We're going to climb up on these guys so fast. Alright, let's start pulling some speed back. Let's gain some altitude on them again. There. All right. So what's happened here is this is your lead line. Okay. Notice it comes off from this cross here, this gun, this 4-point cross. Okay. Now remember in the very, very beginning when we went over all the HUD displays and everything, this is the stationary gun cross. This is where the gun is actually located. Okay, so this is where the stream bullet's first going to come out here, and then everything descends from there. So what the radar is doing is giving you basically, you know, CCIP bombing, right? Or CCRP bombing. It's the same principle if you do any of the air-to-ground stuff. Okay, it's telling you where your target needs to be in order for the gun to hit it. So what we're going to do is pilot our aircraft into the center of our gun reticle here. Okay, so I'm just going to bring them in. And he's hit. Now let's come around to get his little brother. Should have had these guys maneuvering. There we go. So there's our steering line. So now what I'm going to do is just bring it in. And bogey down. Ooh, he's trying to run. All right, so there's our steering line. We're going to pull it in. Yeah, you're dead that time. Yeah. Okay. By the way, guys, you don't ever want to necessarily be going full throttle and things like that into a fight. And we'll go into that in a later course. So, real simple with the gun. Really, there isn't much to it. Remember your gun cross. All right, in here, okay, if we watch the gun again, that's where it's going after. So if you're ever using unassisted, unassisted shooting solutions, or shooting guidance, I guess is what you want to call it, then you want to make sure that you're focusing on the gun cross, where the bullet's going to be, and where's your target going to be by the time the bullets get there. Okay, and you can see the spray there and sort of how that worked. Okay. If you're using radar, okay, all you need to do is drag the center of your targeting reticle into the box, into the targeting cube box, and just sort of lead it like that. Okay. If you guys have any more questions, by all means, let me know. I know this was sort of a quick tutorial in the aspect that we jumped from subject to subject to subject, but there really isn't a whole lot to the Sparrow, the AIM-9, or the gun. It's sort of one of those things at this point, especially with the gun, you just sort of got to practice with, practice flying with it, practice using it, set yourself up some maybe some unarmed targets that will at least maneuver, okay, and then just practice taking them down. All right, let me know if you guys have any questions, and for love of everything, please make sure that you guys take care of yourselves and continue to subscribe and watch the videos. Look forward to talking to you guys soon. This is Overkill. Catch you guys next time.